Hey, all right. We had a few struggles today, but that's the one thing about when you've been in business or any type of life for any length of time, you find out things will happen and you will have to adjust. You got to make adjustments. They say that all the time in sports. You got to make adjustments.
That's right.
Well, I'm here today with my brother and friend, Michael Martinez. He's written books. He's an entrepreneur. He's a few different things. I'm going to let him tell you all that he is. All the information for his channels, for his numbers, emails, we'll have in the description later on. But right now, he can tell you his name and what he wants you to have, and we'll go from there. Then we're going to tell you about our topic for the day, and we will be doing it.
Yeah, well, I'm always pleasured to share the stage with Akey Ahiem. Akey started, I met Akey through a business that we both participate in, even to this day. We're both public adjusters, and Akey was one of the trainers that started training me how to pass the license test for the state of New Jersey. And I kind of, admired him from a distance and said, this guy's a great communicator, great teacher. He knows the business, and I was just observing him. And in the process, I started teaching how to do digital marketing, and Akey kind of gravitated towards that, and we just been going back and forth. He feeds me good ideas, and I feed him good ideas, and we go back and forth. And I have total respect for his religious beliefs, as I have. Same beliefs, and I find him incredibly knowledgeable in how he deciphers the Bible. The Bible's not such an easy thing to break down. So whenever Akey says, "Hey, Mike, let's go and do a Zoom and talk about this particular subject," I'm always welcome to it, and I love sharing the stage with him. So.
I love being on here with Mike. I'm trying to get something right now. I should have had it ready. Sometimes I'm slowful because we got caught up in something else. So, but we're here now, so it's no problem. Now, here's what I want to read. We're going to do this piece by piece. Luke chapter 14, for all those who want to try to follow along. Luke chapter 14, verses 25 through 33. And there was a great multitude with him, and he turned and said unto them, if any man come to me and hate not his father, mother, and wife, children, brethren, and sister, yea, his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. And whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you intending to build a tower sit not down first, counteth the cost, whether it be sufficient to finish it, least happily after he hath laid the foundation, this is not able to finish it. All to behold, it began to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish it. Or what king going to make war against another king sitteth not down first and consulted whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000? Or else, while the other is yet a great way off, he sendeth on ambassador, desire conditions of peace. So likewise, whoever he be of you that forsake not all that he hath, he cannot be my disciples. Now, there was a lot there. He first started with family. And people have to understand, I'm gonna clarify this for you start trying to answer this. When he say hate not your, he's not talking about hate like we talk about hate. He talking about you cannot place them above him. That's what he's getting at. You have to place me above everything. And the reason he says that is because he placed us above his own life, because he sacrificed his life so that he could reconcile us back to the Father. He died for our sins, not his. So when he asked us to do something, it's our reasonable service. So when he say you to sacrifice the hate mother, father, sister, brother, you can't put them ahead of him, because they will in turn make you against him. So what he's asking here is, how do you go about planning your day? How do you plan your life? How do you reconcile where you are or where you're trying to go? Mike, I know I threw a lot at you, but you can just take it piece by piece, because we got a few minutes to get through this.
You know, it's very interesting the way Jesus taught, because he taught in parables, right?
Right.
And but one of the key points that you're bringing out, he used the phrase "counting your costs," right?
Yes.
And that's a very important phrase, because he gave us the example of when you count your costs in advance and when you don't count your costs and you look back at the mistakes that you did, right?
Right.
So you're planning to build a structure, but you haven't planned the right way. You haven't counted your costs. How much is it going to be? How deep is the foundation going to be? How much material am I going to need? And when you don't count your costs, a lot of times you find yourself short at the end and you're not able to complete, and then you look like a fool, right? So counting your costs to me means that you are looking at the consequences of your actions and planning ahead so that you can meet the desired goal, whatever that goal may be. The problem is that a lot of people don't do that. And we take the other part of what Jesus was saying. We move forward, we take a step.
Let me interject real quick, Mike.
Go ahead.
It's still where you are. They don't do that, or they weren't taught to do that.
That's a good question. That's a good question. And I guess, you know, people are not taught to do that. That's a very good point. A lot of people are not taught to do that. They're not taught to think ahead. They're
Right.
not taught to think for themselves, right? So a lot of times they just throw things on the wall and see what sticks and move from there. But what Jesus was telling us, again, with those two parables, he used the parable of building a structure, and he used the parable of a war, right? What if you go to war with an enemy that got you going with 10,000, but they got 20,000, right? And you're gonna, you know, you miscalculated. And that's one of the things that you can avoid a lot of problems in your life if you start calculating, if you start seeing where the consequences are going to take you for the actions that you're doing.
Before I get too far into this, because I'm excited about this subject, because I did a one on this before, but here it is. God himself taught us how to count the cost. In the beginning, and I'm paraphrasing this because we don't want to go through reading all the scriptures. There was nothing but God. The Trinity sat down and decided they was going to make man and make man after God's own image. But there was going to have to be some slight variations. Man was going to be a physical being, and because he was a physical being, there's going to be certain things he needed to have. So God started with the idea first. Man is just the objective. I want to make man. And then he goes back to the beginning and said, okay, in order to make man, I got to have a place for him to live, because there was no earth, so he created one. He had to create water, fish, plants, all this stuff for him to have to live and to survive in. He food to eat, air to breathe. He had to have the plants to transform the air from the carbon dioxide to the. He set all this up, but he just didn't throw it out there. He just didn't create a man and put it out there. He said, no, this is what I want. This is my objective, but this is the process I need to go through to have a place to be successful when I place him there. Too many times we'll just grab it. Somebody will say something. We'll just go do it. and we have no plan whatsoever of how to sustain it, what we're trying to do, how to go back to the beginning, how to work towards that. So what do you think about that?
You know, it's a very interesting thing that you just mentioned. And I love the fact that you brought creation into it, because I was just looking at this very interesting video, and it's out there somewhere. I'll see if I can find the link and send it to you.
Okay,
But
cool.
the video was talking about the validity of the Bible. Was the Bible really inspired by God? And they went to creation, they went to Genesis, and they said, well, this is what the Bible said happened first, and then this happened second, and then this happened third, and right? And the scientists that were looking at that said you had to have it happen in that specific order. It wasn't that you took step number 4 and made it step number 1. No,
Right.
that would not have worked. And they said that the odds of a human being coming up with that type of intelligence 3,000 years ago when the Bible was written, right? Because the Bible, that part, Genesis, was written 3,000 years ago. For them to come up with that scientific fact to say this is step 1, this is step 2, is just mind blowing. The odds were like if you were to hit the Mega Millions in the lottery. That's how big the odds was. So what you're saying to me is beautiful, because you know, in God's infinite wisdom, he said, yeah, I want to create man, but he didn't just create man. He said, okay, what do I got to do? Oh, I got to create a planet. I got to create an atmosphere. I got to create plants. I got to create animals. I got to create water. Right?
Right.
And all those things were set in place. So that's an excellent example of counting the cost. Like a tremendous example.
Now, and I know you're old enough to remember this. You don't hear about this too much anymore. But years ago, when they was really borrowing money from the bank to do things, to start a new business or anything of that nature, the first thing a banker wanted to know, what is your business? Show me your business plan.
Right.
If you ain't got no business plan, there ain't no point in you even sitting down. You might well go on back out the door, because your business plan is going to tell me if it's worthwhile me investing in you. Because what was they telling you? I'm going to count the cost. Because if I don't count the cost, all you're going to do is be a debt to me.
Mm-hmm.
But if I could see where it's feasible and good, and see that you have been counting the cost, now we can come together and make something work. And you know, and I think too, we as human beings have stopped using history to stop making mistakes. That's why we keep making them over and over again.
Yep, I totally agree.
To give me an example, then I'm gonna let you have it. Back in the day, there was a guy named Napoleon who was bad boy. He was a master, strategic, and all this. I mean, he counted the cost. He knew how to. He said the army couldn't go unless they had food to eat. So he was no dumb person by any stretch of the imagination. He only made one mistake. He jumped on Russia in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
Destroyed his army, him. He never rose to prominence like that again. Now, the reason why I said we don't use history to learn from, Germany made the same mistake. And I'm not glorifying Germany by any stretch of the imagination. This is just a teaching moment here. So Germany was beating everything. I mean, they was walking through, tearing up everything. They was doing their thing. They jumped on Russia. Man, they was getting ready to destroy, take Russia apart. Then came the storm.
Mm-hmm.
Destroyed their army, everything. But if he had learned from history and had counted the cost, he'd have knew, I need to wait till winter go past, then go into Russia. But he got in too big a hurry, like a lot of us do, got in a hurry, got in a rush, and disregarded what we already knew.
Yeah. And, you know, we're seeing a lot of that today. And, you know, it's interesting what you're saying about history, learning from history. That's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is that history repeats itself.
Right.
So that mistake that Napoleon did, which you're 100% right, he went out there and he miscalculated. And when he attacked Russia, he miscalculated. When Germany attacked Russia, they miscalculated. A lot of people, you know, unfortunately, we got a situation with the Ukraine and Russia now. A lot of people are thinking Russia miscalculated a bit, right?
Yeah.
Because Russia is a big world power and has been having a problem kind of, you know, totally invading. So, and again, you can look back and say, where was the cost not calculated the right way? A lot of times, there's so many moving parts. You as a public adjuster and I know that when we go to do a claim, we already got to have our story in our head. We already got to know how we're going to explain, you know, the damages. Otherwise, the person is not going to get paid, right? So we gotta look at all the different moving parts that are going on and try to put them into a puzzle so that we could get a picture that we can elaborate on. And that's what happened with Napoleon. Napoleon, excuse me, he was a tremendous strategic mind, but he missed one piece of the puzzle, and that was his defeat. And the same thing with Hitler. Hitler, I don't know if he was a tremendous strategic mind. He had the upper hand because he had a well-developed army at the time, and he was able to engulf all the other countries around him that didn't have as strong of an army. And he just kept gobbling up territory. But you know what? One mistake, like you said, derails the whole thing. And then what happens? Like Jesus said, you look like a fool because you didn't count your cost properly.
Right. And you know, and so somebody don't think we just got caught up on count your cost. It goes into every aspect of your life. If you're about to marry somebody, don't matter if you male, female, or whichever, as long as it's the opposite sex, and you don't find out about that person before you get married, it could cause you misery the rest of your life, which is one of the reasons why we got so much divorce now. But I was taught as a very young man, if you're gonna pick a wife, you need to meet the mother-in-law ahead of time. You need to see how she treats her husband, how she acts, how she do certain things. Can she cook? Can she, all these things, because that is the daughter is an image of her. If she needs treated, and now same thing with women. You need to go find out how that father treats that wife. If that man beating up on that wife, talking junk to her, downgrade him, you need to get away from that dude because he's gonna do the same thing to you. And this is in every aspect of life. We have to count the cost before we get in. The problem is it takes a little bit of time to count the costs. And something like I said earlier, we get in the rush and it causes us to make mistakes.
Yeah, I think a little bit different from you when it comes to that. What I believe is that we got so many distractions, and they're distractions that are brought to us purposely so that we don't count the cost, right? Because, you know, you're looking at TV and you're seeing a commercial for a heart medicine, and the heart medicine itself tells you, well, one of the side effects is that it may stop your heart. But then they say at the end, but ask your doctor if that's for you, right? So they distract you with all these nice pictures, and then you see the person working out or doing yoga and nice music is going on. You don't even notice that one of the side effects is what the medicine is supposed to help you with, which is stopping your heart, right? And I think we're just distracted with social media, with media itself, with the news, with everything that's going on, right? And they're constantly trying to put us in a fear state. A state of fear makes the human body and the human mind stop and analyze and just, you know, it just, you're either running in a state of fear, you're running, you're fighting, or you're hiding, right? And most of the times, the way that the media and everything portrays things, A lot of people hide. A lot of people shrink. A lot of people don't take action. They just stop. And that is what I think is one of the problems. So when you're looking at making a decision, you really got to stop and think. And thinking is one of the things that God gave us that we have the ability to do for free. But a lot of times we don't, right? But that's one of the things that will lead us to success or to failure.
You just won my case for me, because you didn't count the cost of not thinking. You didn't count the cost of being distracted. You didn't count the cost. Look what you said, it cost all this to happen. Because you could have counted the cost and said, now if I spend all my time listening to this news is keeping me in fear, then maybe I shouldn't spend so much time with that.
Absolutely.
Same thing with the medicines on TV, because when we was kids, they would spend 20 years on before they released medicines. But here we go again, got in a rush, got in a hurry about that money. And in order to keep from going through the research and the 20-year study, well, it could cause this, and this. We cover everything. So if something happened, we don't have to worry about it because we covered it. But I agree with you. But I'm just saying, you made my case for me. We got to count the cost. Here you go. See, because I know your story. You and Nelly count the cost a long time ago. A man, when a husband and wife get divorced, they don't really count the cost of what it's doing to them kids.
Right.
All they know is, I'm gonna be out of this and I ain't got to deal with this no more. But now I'm leaving these kids subject to everything that comes against them, ridiculed in school, having somebody else over them, and for years I've been telling women, you need to stop going to these clubs, bringing these men home over your kids, and you got girls, and they found out years later that these guys were molesting their kids because they didn't count the cost. So
yeah, and you know what? You and I have spoken on this several times, because I know you counsel married couples, and the statistics tell us that if a person divorces one time, the next marriage is going to be a little bit easier to divorce.
Right.
And then if they divorce again, it's going to be a little easier. The third marriage, I'm out of here. I don't need you. I don't need to go through this crap. And that's not how it works, right? A couple, two different human beings, and they're trying to gel themselves together. And there's going to be conflicts, because I got a way of thinking and my wife got a way of thinking. And I got to be flexible enough to say, okay, I'm ready to bend on that one. And she got to be flexible enough to say, okay, I'm ready to bend on his concept. And that's how you're going to start building a structure. But the bottom line is, most people, if you experience one divorce, you're saying the cost for the family, but also that person, it doesn't calculate the cost of, you know what, the next one is going to be a lot easier for me to walk away from. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And not only that, that's where all these blended marriages come from. You bring your 6 kids, I bring my 6 kids, and you can say what you want. You're gonna have favorites. I mean, that's my blood. I mean, I'm sorry if I treat that one a little bit better than I do yours, but but that's my blood, So
right.
Yeah. So there's so many aspects of counting the cost. And one of the ones I was suicide. When people come, I mean, now don't get me wrong, there's certain things, certain suicides I cannot, like when you got mental issues and different things, that's different. That's because you're not operating in your right mind. But I'm talking about somebody who just decide, man, I'm through with it. I just don't want to do it. There's no mental issues or nothing. I'm just a quitter. I just don't care about nobody. I'm just going to commit suicide, and I leave that stain on my family. They have no idea, no clue of the cost he's causing those left behind, especially the children. Oh my God, am I gonna grow up and take my life? Oh my God, am I gonna be that? Or every day, kids can be mean when they want to. Your dad killed this. all this. If people really would stop and take the time to count the cost, a lot of things they wouldn't do. And that's what Jesus said. If you were to really sit down and count the cost, you wouldn't make so many mistakes.
Absolutely agreed. Absolutely agreed. And you know, a lot of times, again, I love the topic that you picked for us to talk about, because counting the cost is something simple, right? That anybody that's looking at this right now, and if you're looking at this, we want to hear your comments. If you're looking at this and this vibrates with you, make sure you give us a like for this video here. But you know what? It's something that if you said, for the next 90 days, I'm going to start counting the cost, seeing what my actions are going to produce as far as my business, as far as my health, as far as my relationships. And don't get me wrong, I make the mistake. You make the mistake. We're all trying to work on this, right? A lot of times we don't count the cost. And then you look back and say, yeah, I didn't really figure that out, right? But when you consciously know, you know what, I should put a little mind to this. And this is, again, you know, we got the Facebook distraction, social media distraction, television distraction, music, and all this stuff. You know, it affects people. And it's easy not to do. But when you do it, you take your life to a totally different level. You take your thinking to a totally different level. And most importantly, you take your results to a totally different level when you start counting the cost.
It's amazing that you said that. I was taught by a guy years ago who was very wealthy. I know he was, because I used to go to his house. He used to go in that jacuzzi in the backyard. Everything in his house was paid for. But he taught me how he did it. I didn't follow through on it like I should have, but I teach other people the principle also, because the principle works. Now you got to work it, but the principle works. He told me, and he did help me out a lot, because there was some debt I was in that I got out of because of what he told me. He said, Akey, what you need to do for one solid month, every penny you spend, write it down. I don't care if it's coffee, cookie, donuts, whatever. Write it down. Money you get to the church, funerals, wedding gifts. You got to write all that stuff down for 1 month. At the end of that month, now you got an idea of what you're spending. Now that you got a real idea, because if you don't do this, you got no real idea of what you're spending. Now, once you got an idea of what you're actually spending, you know what you have to work towards to help cover that expense, and some of the stuff you might need to cut out so you don't be expensive. Because for the life of me, I can't understand why people love Starbucks coffee. Because I've get people giving me gift certificates for them, and I almost gave them back because it ain't all that to me. But anyway, I digress. But still, you don't have to have gourmet coffee. You know what I mean? If you just got to, you got to. But you know, you can't go out here and buy a Mercedes Benz and you got a Volkswagen bank account.
Right.
Because you didn't count the cost, because you're gonna end up in the poorhouse.
You know, I made that mistake, man. As a young man, I bought a Mercedes just because I thought it was cool to have a Mercedes, and I had the money. And then the first time I had to get my brakes done, it was $800. Brakes. And I said, oh my God. And somebody said, yeah, man, that's what you do when you own a Mercedes. Now, it's not bad to own a Mercedes. Mercedes is a great car.
Right.
But you gotta, like you said, you gotta be at that level, right?
Right.
If you are living in squalor, if you're just having a hard time to, you know, to feed the family, you got to watch where every penny goes. It's just not intelligent to go and spend $300 on a pair of sneakers, right? And
Right.
a lot of people do, right?
Yeah.
So that's yeah, very, very important. Counting the cost financially makes the biggest difference of anything, I think.
And my parents taught me about sacrifice, because I already know it was 9 of us. and the city now, and I had other friends, there was 18 kids in one family. I couldn't believe that, but and it was 9 of us, and we thought that was a lot. And these were like 2 and 3 bedroom houses we was living in. So, we was doubling up bunk beds. You heard them bunk beds and all that stuff. But anyway, my parents, because it was so many of us, a lot of times, because we had to have sneakers for school, shoes for school, different things for school, they would go without to make sure we had. And that's counting the cost, because they say, I'm making an investment in my child.
And not every parent does that. Yeah.
No, you're right. And I know it because, and I was blessed because in my neighborhood, the majority of the kids there, they were not with their original father. I was with my original father. So, and I'm not putting anybody down who wasn't, because somebody loved you enough to stick around. But I'm just saying, they kept saying, "Oh, you so blessed because you got your dad." I used to tell them, "You want a Bible?" I was real cheap. But and because of that, I learned there was times I had to make sacrifices to get my family where they wanted to. Instead, let me say this. Then I'm gonna let you. My wife, who moves far too slow for me, but God knows what He was doing when He put us together. Because I like to move, do quick. And sometimes because of that, I make mistakes. And she will say, "Akey." When she do that to me, I get mad. I don't tell her I get mad. I know she get ready. But anyway, did you look at this? What are you talking about? This right here. You want to sign this. You want me to sign. Look at this. And then she'll show me, you get ready to make a big mistake because you in a hurry. And what I'm saying is, because of her patience to go through that, she'll stop me from making a mistake because I'm in a hurry. I just want to get it done and move on to the next thing. That's what I want to do. And God put her there to keep me from messing up a lot of stuff. And a lot of times we have to be able to listen to somebody else outside of ourselves. They help you count the cost.
Yeah.
Because somebody else can say, "Hey man, you need to stop what you're doing because it's going to cost you your marriage. It's going to cost you this. It's going to cost you that." And they try to tell you, you ain't counting the cost. It's going to cost you.
Yeah. And Akey, you brought something up when you brought in your wife, and it triggered something in my head, because I was just with my wife and we were traveling to, I think we were shopping or something. Yeah, we were shopping. And she found a co-worker that worked with her years ago, and she she embraced the co-worker, and they said, "Oh, great seeing you," and stuff like that. And my wife says to me when she gets back in the car, she says, "That poor lady was suicidal after her husband died." And what's interesting is that while her husband was alive, all she did was talk about how bad the husband was. And then when he died, she couldn't deal with the fact that he wasn't around anymore, that he wasn't there by her. Now, I'm sure if she loved him to that level, right, or if she needed him to that level, he must have been doing some things right, right? He must have been loving her in a way where maybe it wasn't, your conventional love, but she felt it because she felt the vacuum when he was gone. Right. And a lot of times we don't see that, right? A lot of times we're talking about, a grandfather, or say, "Oh, grandpa, he's such a pain in the butt," right? He wants me to take him to the park again. He wants me to do this. And then all of a sudden, grandpa's missing, and you're saying, "Oh man, I miss grandpa. Grandpa had the best stories. Grandpa showed me love," right?
Yeah.
So that is something that a lot of people don't calculate. A lot of people don't see, what, I got my mate here, or I got my parents here, or I got a relative that's going through these health issues. maybe I should, count the cost and see what life is going to be when they're no longer around. And you get to appreciate them a lot more. You get to show them a lot more love. You get to show them a lot more, just caring, right? And
Right.
that makes a big deal in your life, because you know what? The worst thing is to shut somebody down, and then God forbid something happens, an accident happens, or a disease takes over and obliterates the person. Then what? Then you're thinking, man, I know this lady, and this is just to fit into this, but I know this lady who was warring with her mom, right? And she said, I don't want to speak to you no more. That's it. So they wrote the mom off, and then 2 years later the mom died, and that lady now until today feels the pain of not having made up with mom,
Right.
right? So these are little things that, again, sometimes we let our pride, sometimes we let our distractions, sometimes we just don't think about these things, but they have a consequence down the line, right?
That's right. And I want to say this to all the young people out there, because when God sent me to Philadelphia Biblical University, Philadelphia Bible College, and now it's Corinth Bible College. I don't know why they keep changing the name, but anyway, it was one of the top colleges in America for the Bible. But anyway, I was there, and I'm getting my, degrees and my theological learning and word. And anyway, and all these young kids, because I was older when I went there, I had a family, kids that was working and stuff. Most of these kids was fresh out of high school. And the reason I'm going through this is they didn't count the cost. The credit card people counted the cost. Because these kids, they were sending these kids these credit cards like it was, and they were letting them get them like it was going. And these kids didn't know no better. Because wow, mom and dad had credit cards. But mom and dad had a job. They got these credit cards, and when they found out they had to pay them, they were so far in debt. Now you think about that. This is what we talking about, counting the cost. You're already in debt for college. Now you're in another debt. Why? Because you're in this credit card hole that you dug for yourself because you didn't realize, hey, the principal interest on this thing. Oh man, I should have been paying it off when I wasn't. I just stopped using that one and used another one. Stop using. And now I ain't even got out of college yet, and I'm in debt up to my ear because I didn't count the cost. And I'm quite sure some of their parents tried to tell them, you need to chill out. I've been telling people for years, these things where you wipe out your debt and all this and get this, and then you free, and yeah, you free for about 6 months to a year, and you'll go right back into that because there was no pain attached to it. And if there's pain attached to it, you won't do it again, or not as quickly. But if there's no pain attached to it, you'll go right back and do it. We was talking the other day, and I know we're running out of time here, the other day about how these people can make all this money, these superstars and sports and stuff, and die broke. Me and you couldn't waste that much money in a lifetime, but they get this money and they go into the stratosphere of living somewhere that's a dream. It's not even real. Because if they were to really sit down and would have counted the cost, they could have had that money for generations to come. You get $100 million in a lifetime, and you end up broke on the government because you didn't count the cost. And we're here today. Listen, we didn't even exhaust everything. We tried to fit a few things in here to tell people every aspect of your life, you need to count the cost. And if you want a copy of this, I'm going to render it, and we're going to put it up on YouTube. And I believe it might be recording live. I have some issues. I'm going to have to fix them up. I do have some other things on my mind, but I really, and I want to say this before I get off. See this guy right here, Master Mike Martinez. That's what I call him, Master Mike Martinez. He was the one that dragged me out of the Stone Age into the future. So, hey, look, everybody be laughing because it wasn't that long ago I wouldn't even text. Now I'm
Yeah,
on
well, you know
TikTok.
what? I didn't drag you, man. And
Yeah, he
that's the
did.
beautiful thing, right? Because and you know what? I want to talk to you. You mentioned the young folks today, and absolutely, if you start counting the course, guys, it'll help you out. But you know what? Akey is what, 72?
72. He
72
got it
years
right
old.
this time.
Yeah, and Akey is still going out there and learning stuff, still doing things that the average person, a lot of people over 60 say, ah, no way, I could never do that, right? But you could do that. And you know what? You should do that because if society is moving in a certain way or technology is moving in a certain way and you're not keeping up, you're going to be the dinosaur there. And Akey saw that. I did a training on, using social media and digital media. And Akey said, that's interesting. I want to learn that. And he started with zero experience, zero. And little by little, picked up the books, little by little, attended the classes, little by little, experimented. And now he's a pro. Now he's got 2 YouTube channels. Now he puts out videos all the time. Now he has people calling him for his public adjuster business because of video. All of that is because he had counted the cost and said, you know what? I see this and I want to be part of it and I know I can do it. And a lot of people, have that intimidation where they don't want to do it or they don't think they're capable of doing it. Anybody's capable if you get the right mentors, if you get the right books, if you get the right classes, anybody could learn anything. So Akey always credits me to, dragging him into it. I didn't drag him. Akey was the one that ran towards that and said, I want to learn this. And kudos to him because that means a lot.
Listen, if he would have been sad-faced it, felt like it was a drudgery to tell people about this, ain't nowhere in the world I'd have did it. But he was excited about it. Oh man, and I mean, you could tell this was something that was in his life that was invigorating him, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Because my wife would tell everybody, if it ain't fun, my husband ain't doing it. And I said, man, that could be fun. He made it that way. Because he could have been a totally different person. I wouldn't have followed him. That he wasn't the first person I ever seen that used you, but the first one I've seen that had that enthusiasm, that, oh man, this could change. Whoa, let me just give this a shot and see what's going on here. And plus he was willing to mentor me. See, that's where the dealer, that's why the business that we're in is different from most business, because we're willing to mentor people, even if they're not our direct people, that we're willing to help and mentor anybody. Listen, you have to try to get onto his channel, my channel, and learn about the different things we teach him. And as he said, we're both licensed and bonded public insurance adjuster. First of all, I'm a preacher. That's who I am. Public adjusting is my vocation. So I am good at it. I can go to people policies, help them recoup money. If they've been denied, I can help them reopen that claim, get them paid. You will find a link to my link tree that whatever situation you're in, you can click on it and I can answer. Same with Mike. Listen, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to leave a comment. But we're still talking about counting the cost. We ain't left counting the cost, because you know what happens? Some people don't count the cost. You know what they'll tell us? I'll try my insurance company first, then I'll come back to you. And then when the insurance company drag them through the coals and rip them off and everything, now you don't hear from them either, because they shame-face it, because they realize they should have used you in the first place. They didn't count the cost. Don't be like them. Count the cost. We do free home insurance policy reviews. We'll sit down with you for free. Say, hey, listen, this and the other thing. That's counting the cost. you can save in 10 to 15, $20,000 just on a POS review that tell you what's wrong with it, what's right with it, what's fixing it. That's counting the cost, because in the future, you just avoid it, not having what you needed, because you allow somebody to come into your life and help you through the process.
That's
Mike,
right.
you're about to close. What you got to add to that, Mike?
Well, I gotta add this. If you are out there and you're looking at this, number one, make sure you subscribe to Brother Akey's YouTube channel. He has two channels. He has Reverend Akey Ahiem, and he has
Mercer County Public
Morris
Adjuster.
County. What is it?
Mercer County Public
Mercer
Adjuster.
County Public Adjuster.com. So either one of them will bring you to him. And if you're looking for a career, guys, and I'll tell you, I told you from the very beginning, Akey was one of my trainers, and he helped me pass the test, and he helped me understand the business, and he helped me learn how to communicate the business. If you're looking for a career, you're sitting at home, and especially if you're over 50 years old, that you think that the opportunities have diminished, I'm telling you, you got to hook up with this man, because he's going to open your eyes to a whole new world of a difference on how you could be of value to other people. And that's how you make money. When you can be of value to other people, the money just starts coming in, right? So again, if you're sitting at home and you're thinking, man, I'm kind of bored, or I'm into this forced retirement because of COVID, and now all these young people are out of jobs and they're beating me to the punch. This is something that Akey can take you by the hand and walk you into a career where you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars. And, or you could just make a few tens of thousands, depending on how much effort you want to put into it. You're in total control, but Akey's the man to visit. He's the man to talk to. So that's what I got to say, man.
Yes, sir. And only thing I'm gonna add to that is, don't let Master Mike fool you. He's always on the leaderboard, which tell you what, he's doing something right. So either one of us can help you get where you want to go if you are willing to be teachable. Yep. And with that being said, we're gonna say, if you liked what you see, hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment. I'm gonna get better at this. This is my first live. There were some issues came up, but I'm gonna get, because I can't quit. I told Mike a long time ago, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life learning, because every time I learn something, I feel like there's something else to learn.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah. Okay, with that being said, God bless you, God keep you, God watch over you till we meet again.
Thank you, Brother Akey.
Thank you, Master Mike.